A knock on the door on July 18, 1973 is a sound Beverly Shabazz says she will never forget. That day, her husband Milton Scott was shot and killed outside their home in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
But at that time, it just took so much out of me, and just to actually see it happen. And I was almost going on 8 months pregnant. It was very traumatic for me to see.
2023 marks the shooting's 50th anniversary that began with a fight between Scott and 2 FBI agents. And to this day, both sides have held opposing views of the incident. Shabazz remembers the agents kicked their door in with guns drawn, while the agents believe Scott charged at them and felt the need to defend themselves. The morning before the shooting, Shabazz woke up to Scott screaming.
He said, "Look at the blood." He said, "I'm just covered with blood." He said, "Look at all the blood just running out of me." I said, "Milton, you in the bed, you sleeping, you having a nightmare." I said, "Wake up, wake up."
What started as an uneasy day for Scott differed for FBI agents Delbert Hahn and William Wood.
For me, it was just another deserter case.
Right.
So I took Bill Wood with me, and we figured we'd have the guy in jail and have a lunch.
The agents were tasked with fighting Scott, who the Army declared as a deserter. Hahn says they were given a date of birth, a social security number, and a physical description. A week earlier, Hahn retrieved Scott's driver's license photo with this information. When he arrived at Scott's home, Agent Hahn had a feeling there was going to be trouble.
He's got this plaque on his door, Milton X. I didn't expect, to get as much problem as we did, but I figured, he's a Muslim if I don't like us.
Prior to this assignment, Agent Hahn interviewed the men indicted after the 1972 Baton Rouge riot. It was a clash between black Muslims and law enforcement on North Boulevard. Several were killed. Reports revealed that the Muslims at the riot were known as Out-of-Town Renegades, a splinter group from the Nation of Islam. Agent Hahn later wrote that the interviews left a lasting impression.
We were told we were called devils. They didn't call me Mr. Hahn or Agent Hahn. Well, you white devil, you had some questions. Maybe I'll answer, maybe I won't.
2 officials acknowledged that the Baton Rouge Muslims, including Scott, were not involved.
The local black community did not give any assistance whatever to these outside militants, and I think they'd be congratulated on that. And I certainly ask them to maintain peace and quiet in the future and to help us maintain law and order in the parish. These people have behaved as law-abiding citizens, and I think that they're to be congratulated in that instance.
While the Milton X sign meant trouble for Agent Hahn, it was a symbol of Scott's dedication to the Nation of Islam.
He was addressed, he really wanted to be the best of selling newspapers. He wanted to be the best of bringing people to the temple to hear the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he tried to keep everybody around, try to motivate everybody around him to be like that.
From the moment the agents arrived at Scott's home to just minutes following it, the agents and Shabazz's perspectives are divided by the front door.
Well, we knocked first, and there was. He came to he was inside the door, as we told him, FBI, we're here, you're under arrest.
Did you show him your badge or anything?
No.
Okay.
He pulled the door open far enough that I saw his face and I knew who the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
They asked, "Is this Milton Scott's resident?" He said, "Who wants to know?" And they asked the same question again, and they continued until they kicked the door in.
He opened the door, and that's how I knew it was him, and he slammed the door. I kicked the door once, yelled in, "Come on out," the FBI, and Bill kicked the door twice, and he was holding the door because the door would go in a little.
And once they kicked the door in, Andrea and I were up front, but he had us to go get out of the front room. And once they had kicked the door in, they came in with their guns drawn, and he said, "You will not come in my house with those guns. I will not allow you." And he started saying, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar."
He yanked the door open, charged out at Bill, and hit him. And so Bill was against the wall. And he comes out and gets him in the face, and Bill's got his gun, and immediately he puts his gun up in the air. Scott's got one hand in his face, and the other's grabbing for his gun.
And he fought with the 2 agents to the front porch down the steps and they were still fighting over in the parking lot.
No, I turned into them to try and yank him off of Bill. And the momentum of that, we all went off the porch onto the ground. Right, we went down to the ground.
Yeah.
And he was still fighting with Bill. And Bill was still laying with his gun up in the air, not in the air, on the ground now. He's trying to get to it.
Away from Scott.
They were still kind of clenched together fighting when we went down, and they went down kind of on me, and then I got out from under, and that's when I got on my knees. I had to have my gun out, and then I whacked him in the head with it. And all that did was get his attention. He quit fighting with Bill and turned toward me and then dove at me, and I'm still on my ground. And then I remember, I'm pretty sure that Bill said, "Shoot." And I'm thinking, well, he's got his gun, that's why Bill wants me to shoot him. But I mean, I didn't.
Yeah, it's...
My first thought was I didn't want to get shot in the head, in the face. That was the first thing on my mind. I don't want to get shot. I don't know if I'm praying or what. Don't let him shoot me in the face. I didn't want her to see me, dead with a...
Yeah.
That was my first conscious, real thought.
And once they were in the parking lot, I heard the gunshot. And just as I was coming down the steps, I heard the second shot while I was looking. When I was looking, they was holding the gun directly to his heart. And it actually blew his heart out, but I was able to get him, pick his head up and hold his head in my lap until he took his last breath. And it took a lot out of me, and I was extremely bloody.
Yeah, I mean, she came out screaming and hollering, "Oh, you killed him," and all that stuff. And, I didn't stay around to argue with her, or I didn't say anything to her. I didn't say anything to anybody but Bill. I said, "Give me your car keys." I wanted to get somebody out there.
Right, to call.
I wanted some cops and an ambulance is what I wanted, because I thought maybe he wasn't. I wasn't sure he was dead. I didn't even go look at him. I just saw him laying in the driveway and the blood was coming out from under him, and I said either he's dead or we need to get him an ambulance. So I went.
The FBI later discovered they had gotten the wrong man. A man stole Scott's identity to enlist in the Army and then went AWOL. The FBI Identification Division had discontinued its fingerprint policy due to a lack of manpower and funds to tackle the deserter cases that stacked up during the Vietnam War.
They didn't give any information,
including the deserter's photo.
And that's the problem. They didn't verify the enlistment, which they had been doing before. And they do it just for reasons like this.
Following the incident, the agency restored this policy, which required a copy of the deserter's fingerprint and prior arrest records. While this policy came back to prevent further incidents similar to this one, the same cannot be said for Milton Scott's life. But his memories through his loved ones and those he inspired in the Baton Rouge Muslim community live on.
Oh, he was called the dancing machine. Anywhere he went. And once Milton hit the floor, everybody sit down. Man, he could go and go and go. It looked like he would never get tired. And he was pulling moves like Michael Jackson, which he could have done back in the day.
When it came to the Nation of Islam, he was very, very, very aggressive. He wanted to see the nation grow. But his life was cut short. But it motivated those of us who were here to try and do more.
In the next story, we take a closer look at the investigation, the man who stole Scott's identity, and especially the impact that day left on his family and the agents. Maria Pham, LSU Cold Case Project.